on the air with new developments in Memphis, where we now know a sixth officer is being relieved of his duty after the brutal police killing of Tyree Nichols, with the first calls from reform on the federal level now from a Republican congressman. But what are the chances change actually happens? We're live in Memphis and on Capitol Hill. Plus, with the special counsel starting work this week, President Biden, he's trying to shift the conversation ahead of the State of the Union to his wins. Steve Kornacki is here to break down new data about how Americans feel about the state of our union right now. And in the breakdown, a key deadline tomorrow for 7 states to come up with a plan for how they're going to share the water from the Colorado River because supply's running out and the feds are ready to step in. Plus, in tonight's original, a public college in Florida being upended by the state's governor, who says he's targeting so-called wokeness, what it's telling us about Ron DeSantis' education agenda, and a desperate search down under for a potentially deadly but tiny radioactive pellet, a dangerous needle in a massive haystack somewhere on a stretch of road the size of California. Oh yeah, we'll explain later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight a 6th Memphis police officer has been relieved from duty but not fired after the killing of Tyree Nichols, with attorneys for the Nichols family tonight calling it extremely disappointing. As we're looking ahead to a vigil in Memphis and a demonstration in Chicago tonight, people in those cities set to add their voices to the chorus of demonstrators you see here, demanding change, demanding accountability in mostly peaceful protests coast to coast. It comes as the Memphis Police Department is disbanding its Scorpion unit, a special unit meant to target violent crime. But in the video that police have released of Nichols' horrific beating, and we want to warn you, what you're about to see is incredibly disturbing. You can see officers in that unit who kick and punch Nichols to the point where he could no longer stand or sit up straight. The 5 officers have all been charged with second-degree murder related to Nichols' death. A court date set for next month as some of the attention shifts to Capitol Hill and the calls for Congress to do something about police reform. We'll have more on that in a bit, but I want to go first to Priscilla Thompson in Memphis because, Priscilla, so many questions now about this 6th officer who was relieved from duty, but not charged with those other 5 officers who were, of course, charged with second-degree murder. Can you help us understand the timeline here and where this 6th police officer, this 6th white police officer fits into this?
Yeah, Hallie, so we're talking about Officer Preston Hemphill. He's a 5-year veteran of the force, according to the police department. And what they are telling us is that he was placed on administrative leave at the same time as these other 5 officers who have now been fired. But he has not been fired. And for that reason, that is why his name was never mentioned in the initial release that came out, noting the 5 officers that had been fired and then were subsequently charged. And we are now hearing from the attorney for Preston Hemphill, who confirms that his client was in video number 1. That is his body cam video. And the attorney says that Hemphill was a part of the first interaction, the first confrontation with Tyree Nichols, but he was not a part of that second confrontation, obviously the one that was quite a bit more violent and brutal. And he says that his client is fully cooperating with the investigation. But today we're also hearing from the attorneys for the family of Tyree Nichols, and as you mentioned, they say they are disappointed that this information about this officer was not revealed to them prior to this, and they say that in some ways it feels like the police department is trying to shield this white officer, as they put it, from being held sufficient discipline and accountability, is what the attorney for the family of Tyree Nichols had to say about all of that. Hallie?
By this point, Priscilla, here we are Monday evening, and by this point, I think the people who wanted to look at the video, right, to assess its newsworthiness, and obviously it is incredibly newsworthy, have done so. The people who have hoped to not see that video because of how disturbing it is have presumably managed to avoid it to the degree that they want to. The question now is, what comes next, right? Because that video shows officers screaming at Nichols to keep his hands up when they were up. The officers approaching Nichols' car. The question of whether that traffic stop that he was stopped for initially in the first place was even legal. And now the disbanding of this Scorpion unit altogether, which, by the way, was one of the things that some of these demonstrators said they wanted to see.
Right. There are a whole host of questions that a lot of the people who have been out demonstrating have about all of this. First, of course, is questions about why the initial report that police released does not seem to align with what we're seeing in the video. Police described what happened as a confrontation, but what we see in the video is officers getting out of their cars with tasers drawn, and one of them opening the passenger or the driver's side door and pulling Tyree Nichols out. And that none of that was mentioned in that initial report. It also talks about Tyree Nichols complaining of shortness of breath, but we now know that after that beating, as you mentioned, he could barely sit up as they propped him up against the side of the car. So it seems unclear if he was actually able to complain about shortness of breath. And then on top of that, the Memphis police chief is now saying that she hasn't found any justification for the traffic stop. So a lot of people here saying there are still a lot of questions, and they want more accountability about the two fire department officials who have been placed on leave, about the two Shelby County sheriff's deputies that have been placed on leave, among other things. Hallie?
Priscilla Thompson live for us there in Memphis. Priscilla, thank you. One of the things that we are hearing from Tyree Nichols' family today are calls for change, for accountability, for police reform, with those calls knocking at the door of the Capitol building not far from where I'm sitting. Many of this discussion focusing on the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which, among other things, would boost police accountability, would target police misconduct. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because it is. This tried to get through Congress back in 2021. It passed the House, but did not pass the Senate, with questions now of whether this time could be different. Joining us now in Ryan Nobles. And Ryan, that is the question, right? Could this time be different? It is an open question, despite just late today, one Republican member of Congress, the first that we've seen so far, a former police officer, expressing some support for something on police reform federally.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And that congressman is from Long Island, a former New York City police detective, Congressman D'Esposito. And he said in a tweet over the weekend, he said, quote, "This demonstrates the need for greater federal involvement in setting police training standards. Immediate action must be taken to prevent such senseless violence from ever occurring again." But, Hallie, to be clear, this is just one Republican member of Congress. It's the only Republican member of Congress that has said anything specific as it relates to passing some sort of legislation that would encourage police reform. And the simple fact is, if they had difficulty getting through this legislation in the last Congress, in which Democrats had control of both the House and the Senate, it's even more difficult now that Republicans control the House. And so there will likely be more conversations about this. There may even be legislation that's introduced. Perhaps the George Floyd Policing Act does once again come up for a vote. But there is very little optimism at this point that anything will actually get accomplished.
What about something called the De-Escalation Training Act? Because this is something, Ryan, as we were coming on the air just a couple of minutes before, Senator Cornyn was on the floor talking about and what this law does as far as moving the needle here. Is it enough for Democrats? Let me play Senator Cornyn.
Use of force should only come into play when absolutely necessary. And this legislation will provide law enforcement officers with the knowledge of what alternatives are available to them. I'm glad this legislation is now the law of the land, and the Department of Justice must implement it as quickly as possible.
Will it move the needle, Ryan? What do we know about it?
Well, so, you know, this is an example of compromise that Republicans and Democrats were able to push over the finish line. But, you know, as soon as Senator Cornyn got off the floor from making that speech where he was basically kind of imploring, you know, different levels of government to try and institute these changes, he then conceded that it's going to be very difficult for any new legislation to get over the finish line, that because there is divided government, because Republicans control the House, Democrats control the Senate, it's going to be very difficult for them to find some sort of compromise. Usually these flashpoint issues at least bring them to the table, Hallie. But again, things are not very optimistic at this point.
It's a gut check and an important one. Ryan Nobles live for us on the Hill. Thank you. We're learning tonight that the special counsel who's looking at President Biden's handling of classified documents is expected to start that job this week, ramping up that investigation, even as President Biden tries to ramp up ahead of next week's State of the Union in a very different way by focusing on his wins. You've got the president speaking today in Baltimore outside a tunnel that'll get money from his signature infrastructure law, saying it's about making sure no American is left behind.
It's about making investments in America's cities, towns, heartlands, and rural America. It's about making things here in America again. It's about good jobs. It's about the dignity of work. It's about respect and self-worth. And it's about damn time we're doing it.
So check out the president's schedule. You see he's got Philly on Friday, New York tomorrow, and right in between a one-on-one here in Washington at the White House with Speaker Kevin McCarthy on how to avoid a potential financial crisis in this country. A meeting that puts the spotlight on the president's new reality of divided government. So that's the context for some new data we're going to show you from our first post-midterms poll. Steve Kornacki is here to break it down. Hey, Steve. So listen, the big takeaways here seem to be the president is kind of where he was at months ago, and people really aren't that happy with how things are going. Fair?
Yeah, new year, same political climate. I mean, take a look here. Joe Biden's approval rating in our new poll, 45%, continues to be underwater. Take a look at what we were finding. That's just consistent with everything we were seeing last year during the midterm campaign. Low approval ratings for Biden. Also, economic insecurity, asking folks, is your income keeping pace with the cost of living? 2/3 of respondents in our poll say they feel like they're falling behind. Inflation continuing to loom large in people's mind. And then this, what you're seeing here is just a whole list of traits and attributes, and asking, do you have a positive or negative view of Biden on these? And what you can see here, look at all the red ink. These are areas where he's upside down. Areas like honesty, competence, mental and physical health to do the job of president. So you're seeing a bunch of negative numbers for Biden, and we've been seeing him for the last 2 years, really.
Okay, so go to the person who may be ending up challenging him for the White House come 2024, right? If the president decides to say he's running, and if Donald Trump actually gets the nomination. Former President Trump, who just is starting now at the very beginning of getting out on the campaign trail.
Well, that's the other thing. So we say this has been the story for Biden, and yet Democrats had a pretty good 2022 midterm, all things considered, and this was why. We're still seeing it in our poll now, our new poll. Biden is underwater. He's unpopular. Democrats are unpopular, but Republicans are even less popular, and Donald Trump is even more unpopular than Joe Biden. That's what saved Democrats in the 2022 midterms. A lot of voters took it as a choice between Biden and Democrats who they didn't like, and Trump and Republicans who they liked even less. So if that dynamic is still at play heading into 2023, 2024, we asked Republicans, do you consider yourself more a Republican or a Trump voter? 33%, 1/3 say they're really more loyal to Trump. And then we asked them, do you consider yourself Republicans part of the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement? 2/3 of Republicans basically saying, yeah, they're on board with Trumpism.
The question is Donald Trump going to be the one to carry the mantle of Trumpism, right? That's still, I think, a question mark to be decided. One thing we do know about the dynamic the rest of this year and into next year, Steve, is it's going to be a divided government in Congress. And this new data gives us a sense of what do voters actually want Congress to do?
And so you take a look here. We asked should not. The most popular issue on this list that we asked voters at least was that pathway to citizenship for the undocumented. 80% there. Harder line against China, 75%. Border security, over 70%. You can see where the cutoff line here. Climate change still a priority for folks. You get to Ukraine, a lot more mixed opinion on that.
Steve Kornacki, great to see you. Thank you, as always, friend. Love to see you at the big board.
You got it, Hallie.
So listen, ice is starting to come down in Texas and parts of the South as we speak as a winter storm ramps up, a frigid one with 35 million people under these winter alerts. 10 million people have wind chill alerts in the Rockies, the Plains. Freezing temperatures are expected there. And listen, we are talking super duper cold. Parts of Utah this morning, almost 60 below zero. Wind chills in Montana hit 50 below zero, 40 below in the Dakotas. That's bananas. You're looking at sleet coming down in Arkansas, by the way, as part of that 3-day storm hitting from Texas to West Virginia. The ice, the freezing rain, that stuff makes it so dangerous to travel. That also ups the risk for potential power outages. Meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking all of it. Cold, cold, cold. Some of the country is feeling it. More people will be feeling it soon.
Yeah, it's finally winter, Hallie. I mean, at least in some spots, not quite on the East Coast.
Not in D.C. It's about 60 today.
Yeah,
but
I didn't even need a jacket in many areas of the eastern seaboard today, but that'll that'll change as we head towards the weekend. So let's talk about the immediate first, and that's the areas that were bitterly cold this morning. We mentioned that -60 in Peter Sinks, Utah. Now, that's at 8,000 feet. It's a bowl. It's traditionally one of the coldest locations in the country, so that wasn't widespread, but it's just a pretty cool fact. That was the coldest in 21 years in that state of Utah this morning. Now, all of these little light pink areas here, these are all wind chill advisories, so we've gotten rid of many of our warnings, so it's not as bad as it was this morning, but it's still pretty cold. Only, Fargo's -20 earlier today. They were about -40. Wind chill in Chicago's at -1, and now that cold air is sinking to the south, so Wichita and even St. Louis are in the single digits. And how about that cold coming in? This is going to be Friday night, and when you wake up Saturday morning, -42 in Vermont, Albany -32. Again, these are the cities. So if you're in the mountains, it's going to be even colder than this. New York City -11, and even D.C., this will get your attention in the single digits to about 10, Hallie. Again, it's short-lived. By the time you get to Sunday afternoon, it's done.
I'm used to 10 degrees, Bill. That's what it feels like in our studio every day. You know, I mean, for sure. Bill Cairns, thank you very much. We're going to be live, by the way, on the ground in Dallas in our next hour. We'll see you then. Appreciate it. Today, we're learning that the principal of that elementary school in Virginia, where a 6-year-old boy shot his first-grade teacher, is no longer on the job. She is no longer the principal. She's been removed, but she's still working for the school system. Comes to students today, we're back for the first time since the shooting. You see kids with their parents, police officers there, welcome signs. The school has some new rules in place, like permanent security officers. They've got metal detectors now at this elementary school. They've got doors in classrooms that didn't have them in certain areas before. The kids are all getting clear backpacks. Police say the 25-year-old teacher who was shot, Abigail Zwerner, is a hero. Since after she was shot, she's still safely got about 20 kids out of her class. Katie Beck is joining us now. And Katie, the school today is also offering some emotional support service, but the signs of what happened are still so visible, right? For the parents dropping them off, for the kids now that have to deal with metal detectors and clear backpacks and have the specter of this sort of hanging over their school day.
Yeah, Hallie, at the beginning of the day, there was a lot of anxiety, that first entry point after the shooting, parents feeling very anxious as they dropped off their kids. But the school district, I have to say, made a really, really big effort to try and create a security here, to try and create some sense of normalcy for these kids. And even beyond that, an encouraging sense of welcome back. They had about a dozen police officers waiting outside the school, lined up, giving high fives and handshakes to kids and flowers to teachers. There were emotional support dogs in the school today. And then additionally, those first graders that were actually in the classroom where this horrific incident happened have been relocated to a different classroom that the community painted and put a number of their items from the previous classroom inside so they would feel familiar. So there was a big effort to try and make today a positive day, a positive experience. And I think on the way out of school felt much different than on the way in. A lot of kids really happy to be reunited with their friends. They've had 3 weeks off. So that's hard for kids to sort of be separate and sort of desocialized for that long of a time. I think they were really happy to get back.
Yeah, that's so interesting to hear the dynamic from sort of drop off to pick up, Katie. I'm sorry, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, parents, I think, are feeling encouraged by, as you mentioned, some of these leadership changes. I think they see these administrative changes as being the culture shift that is necessary on a broader sense to correct this problem. And I just want to play for you some of the sound from those parents that we spoke to today, saying about their hopeful sense of what's to come.
I think it'll help all the schools in the city of Newport News.
You said you don't love the idea of seeing the metal detectors, but if they work, you're all for them.
Yeah, they should be unnecessary, but if we need them, we need them. Very okay with the administrative changes because I just feel like they're not doing their job if they're not protecting everybody.
And again, Hallie, you mentioned those clear backpacks. Some of the kids came out and showed them to us after school, and believe it or not, they were like really excited to show off these backpacks. I think, again, the school has done a good job of trying to positize, which is a pretty negative situation.
So you talked about some of the staff changes, Katie. The principal's out, although still employed by the school system. The assistant principal is out. The superintendent was fired by the board last week. It feels like there's a clear... It feels like the school district wants to kind of send a message that they are working to, you know, in some ways start fresh or maybe, start the page turning beyond this, even though Abigail Zwerner, the 25-year-old teacher who was shot, has been in the hospital for 2 weeks. She's now recovering at home.
Yeah, I think the point here is if we could do things differently, maybe we should. And I think that's what the school district is trying to do moving forward. Let's get some new eyes on the subject. Let's try some new protocols. Let's see what works. But I mean, hearing all of these reports of threats ahead of this day, ahead of this incident, and even on the day, the reports that this child had a gun were 3 and 4 different times the school was alerted. So I think it's pretty hard not to take a look at this situation and say, can we do things better? You know, I think the answer is we can.
Katie Beck, thank you very much, live for us there in Newport News, Virginia. Appreciate it. Overseas now, Secretary of State Tony Blinken will be meeting with the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas tomorrow, wrapping up his Mideast trip during a big spike in violence there. Today, he met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling for peace from both sides.
We continue to believe that the best way to achieve it is through preserving and then realizing the vision of 2 states. As I said to the Prime Minister, anything that moves us away from that vision is, in our judgment, detrimental to Israel's long-term security and its long-term identity.
The most recent round of violence started last week with an Israeli raid in the West Bank, followed by a Palestinian shooting in a Jewish settlement that killed 7 Israelis. Even today, right before Secretary Blinken arrived, the Palestinian Health Ministry said Israeli forces killed a Palestinian man. Kelly Kobiea is joining us now from Jerusalem. And Kelly, you know, the trip for Secretary Blinken had been planned before this happened, right? And yet here he is now at this critical moment, meeting with the critical leaders as part of this. What are the expectations?
I think the hope is that the presence of the secretary will sort of calm tensions. The message from Secretary Blinken has been so far that both sides need to take steps to reduce tensions. And he said that just after stepping off the plane, and then reiterated it while standing side by side with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think you can expect him to deliver the same kind of message to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas when he meets with him tomorrow, that not only do both sides need to take steps to reduce tensions, to stop this cycle of violence, but also that the U.S., the Biden administration, is committed in the long term to a 2-state solution and doesn't want to see anything disrupt that in the shorter term. You can also expect him to talk to the Palestinian president about this security coordination agreement with Israel. The Palestinian president pulled the Palestinian Authority out of that agreement after that raid on the West Bank. It basically allows the Palestinian Authority to cooperate with Israel in the territories to identify and at times arrest militants and extremists, people who may be allegedly plotting some sort of attack in Israel. They pulled out of that. The Secretary of State likely will try to get them back in. This has been something that the Palestinian Authority has done in the past as a sign of protest. So it is possible that they'll agree to resuming that coordination. But it's something that is key, some people say, to maintaining a sense of calm.
Kelly Kobiea live for us there in Jerusalem. Kelly, it's good to see you. Thank you for being on the ground for us there. Coming up here on the show, the jury in that incredibly high-profile South Carolina double murder trial getting a first look at a gun that prosecutors say may have been used to kill the suspect's wife. A look at some new body cam from the day after the killings. Plus, new research looking into whether people's food cravings could be considered technically an addiction. That controversial discussion coming up next. A lot of new evidence getting shown in that double murder trial that South Carolina papers are calling the trial of the century, including some new video now from the day after the killings, with the jury getting a first look at a rifle found in one of Alec Murdaugh's gun rooms. Why does this gun matter? The one you're looking at here. Prosecutors say it's owned by Murdaugh's surviving son, Buster. Shell casings from it were found all over a property owned by the family that matched the shell casings found near the body of Murdaugh's murdered wife. And remember, police say they haven't recovered either the rifle that killed Maggie Murdaugh nor the shotgun, neither the rifle nor the shotgun that killed Paul Murdaugh. The father, the husband, Alec Murdaugh, is charged with killing his wife and son. He has pleaded not guilty. Blaine Alexander is following this trial from Atlanta. And another high-profile day today, Blaine, because prosecutors say they know what kind of rifle killed Maggie Murdaugh, that blackout rifle we just saw. They just can't prove for sure that it was that particular rifle. As you see, we're showing it here, this parade of guns that the prosecution was pulling out and showing, one after the other from these boxes they brought in. Walk us through some of these new details we're getting. Not just that, but some body cam footage the day after the killings from an interview, too, that Murdaugh had with investigators.
And that's a really good way to put it, Hallie, this parade of guns that investigators actually confiscated from the Murdaugh home. You know, what's interesting about this, this isn't something that we typically see in open court, where evidence box after evidence box is opened up and they brandish these large weapons. And that's why we heard repeat objections from defense attorneys, essentially saying, listen, ballistics tests have already ruled out these weapons. They've already shown that these weren't involved in the killing. So why pull them out? They said that it was unnecessarily prejudicial to basically show those types of things to a jury when pictures would do the job equally as well. But the prosecution says, no, this shows just how detailed and thorough they've been in the investigation. I want you to hear a little bit of the back and forth over this and what specifically they said about that .300 blackout rifle. Take a look.
I mean, we really didn't argue about much. We didn't have much to argue about. I mean, I'm sure there was an occasional thing that came up that we argued about, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't think of it.
Okay, so what you just heard right there, Hallie, was a kind of emotional testimony that we actually heard. It was a recording of Alec Murdaugh being interviewed by investigators several days after the killings. He was asked about his wife, Maggie, broke down and talked about the fact that they had a good relationship, Hallie.
There's then the defense's strategy, right? So we've talked about the prosecution. The defense was trying to sow doubt, let's say. It seems like they're bringing up this kind of second shooter type theory to raise that reasonable doubt, if you will.
That's because there were two different guns used. So they're pointing to the fact that while there was one gun used to kill Murdaugh's adult son, Paul, a different kind of gun used to kill Maggie, you know, what we heard were defense attorneys really trying to do their best to poke holes in this and essentially say, does it leave open the possibility that there were two different shooters? Here's a little bit of that exchange. Take a look.
One explanation of this data would be two shooters. One explanation, not the, but one.
Not the only one.
Yeah, not the only one, but it is a reasonable explanation, just like one shooter running up that way, correct?
Sure.
Now, on redirect, we heard the prosecution push back on that and say, but it's also possible there was one shooter who used two different guns, so essentially trying to wipe that explanation away as well, Hallie.
Blaine Alexander covering all that for us. Blaine, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson telling the BBC that Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened him with a missile strike in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson says Johnson's comments are a lie. Number 2, a U.S. freestyle skier has died after getting caught in an avalanche in Japan Sunday. A Japanese official says at least 5 foreigners were caught up in this. Another man also died. No ID on him yet. Number 3, the FAA says it's making some changes to try to prevent a repeat of the computer system outage that affected more than 11,000 flights this month. The agency sent a letter to Congress saying it's changed something to stop a bad file from damaging a backup database. You got a lot of frequent flyers hoping it'll work. Number 4, Avatar, The Way of the Water, has now passed Star Wars The Force Awakens as the 4th biggest movie in history. The only movies ahead of it still are the Avengers Endgame movie and 2 other James Cameron movies, Titanic and the original Avatar. Number 5, did you catch this? The Empire State Building lighting up in Eagles green yesterday after Philly beat the 49ers. And, like, yay, fly, Eagles, fly, but also why? What? That's in New York. That's like Giants country. Some people were not happy about it. They took to Twitter to complain, but the Empire State Building Twitter account sort of clapped back a bit. It's apparently always been the plan to show the colors of both the winning NFC and AFC champs. It just so happens that the winning NFC champ is the NFC East rival of the Giants. Again, the Eagles. Again, in case you missed it, heading to the Super Bowl. I just want to put a pin on that. So listen, you may have casually said this to a friend sometime. Oh, those chips or those cookies or whatever. I'm addicted to those. But researchers say food addiction could really be a thing for some older Americans. A new survey just out today shows that 1 in 8 Americans over the age of 50 show signs of being addicted, actually addicted to really processed food and sugary drinks. Researchers say this kind of stuff taps into the brain's reward system, which is similar to how your body responds to drug or alcohol use. Dr. Akshay Syal joins us now. And Dr. Syal, what is the distinction between a food craving and a food addiction? How are researchers, how are clinicians drawing that line?
Good evening, Hallie. You know, it's a great question, and I think a lot of us have food cravings, right? Like myself, I've been known to crave a slice of pizza or a slice of a can of Cherry Garcias from Ben & Jerry's. But the question is, how does that become an addiction? And the real simple answer is here, when that craving starts to control your life, when you go out of your way when you stop everything you're doing to go out of way to make sure you get those things, that's what you're really worried about here. And so how do they define a food craving, and what were they looking for? So, or food addiction. So, the first thing, it's really intense cravings. The other thing, inability to cut down, and that means that maybe you say Saturday, I'm going to have a healthy day, and you're just not able to follow through on that. Signs of withdrawal, and believe it or not, there's some early research here that shows that when you stop eating that junk food, you can actually get headaches and irritability like you do when you stop caffeine. And lastly, increased levels of emotional distress just from not having that junk food.
It is not a clinical diagnosis, right? Like, food addiction is not something that is an actual diagnosis you can receive clinically. Why is it? Is it controversial to do that? Do you think that this study is raising some new questions about whether or not that should be the case?
I think it does raise some questions, but the short answer is the science really isn't there yet, in the sense that we have smoking addiction and alcohol addiction. But it's a really important point, because we can't treat something if we don't define it. And if we define what food addiction is, we can start to look at treatments like we have for smoking use disorder and alcohol disorder, medications or therapy that might actually help people who are addicted to food overcome it.
This study focused on adults over the age of 50. Can you explain why that is? Do we think we'd see something similar in like a younger age population as well, as it relates to the potential for, as you say, food addiction, sort of not a capital A, but a lowercase a?
This study focused on older adults, so it's really hard to say what may come from younger adults, but it's women, twice as likely as men to have this. Those age 50 to 64 really is where this is hitting hard, as well as those who are lonely. Isolation had a big risk factor. The lonelier you were, the more likely you were to suffer from food addiction.
Is it only junk food, right? Because of the things that trigger, we all know fat, sugar, right? Trigger those reward pleasure receptors in the brain?
The dopamine reward centers, just like gambling, just like any other addiction. It's the same reward centers.
Dr. Akshay Syal, it's fascinating. Thank you so much for that in-depth look at that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Still to come, a different kind of school board fight in Florida. We're looking at why tensions are running high at a small liberal arts college and why critics call what's going on there a conservative takeover. Stay with us. So tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight it's the latest battleground for American culture wars, a Florida college. Governor Ron DeSantis, the Republican governor in that state, making headlines for months now with this ambitious education agenda targeting what he and some describe as, quote unquote, wokeness in schools. Well, now the governor's going one step further, attempting to do what critics describe as a conservative takeover of a small public liberal arts college in Sarasota. NBC's Maura Barrett has the story.
At the New College of Florida's recent student meeting with new board members.
Article 3 is titled Religious. Should we, let's go to another person. I want to make sure that we get as many people as possible, but I'm happy to answer your question.
Tensions are running high as a student asked a follow-up question. Governor Ron DeSantis recently replaced 6 of the board's 13 members in an apparent bid to transform this intimate 700-person liberal arts college into what Florida's Commissioner of Education has touted as a Hillsdale of the South, referring to a private Christian university with explicit conservative views.
One of the things that makes teaching at New College a real privilege is that our students want to take risks.
New College's more flexible learning style and tight-knit LGBTQ-friendly community drew in second-year student Sam Scharf.
We came to New College for a reason, and they're trying to take that from us.
One of the new board members, Chris Rufo, told a New York Times columnist the board has plans to conduct a top-down restructuring and design a new core curriculum from scratch, including scrapping diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
You've called the instatement of the new board and what you're looking to do as a hostile takeover of the college. Why is the word hostile necessary?
Sure. I mean, it's a fact. Just here today, some anonymous activists sent a death threat to my fellow trustee, Eddie Spear.
Rufo told us the governor's, quote, political genius will be the new board's guiding light.
Anytime that you have a vision for transforming an institution, there will be conflict. I want to be very open and honest about that and transparent in the process. But beyond that conflict, I think, is academic excellence. It's world-class research.
Meanwhile, the governor's recent legislation restricting how lessons on race and gender are taught are currently blocked from being enforced in schools. A federal judge calling the policy positively dystopian.
What do you make of something that your efforts are surrounding as being described as dystopian?
Yeah, I obviously disagree, but what I would say is this. I've exposed in my reporting so many instances of kind of vicious racialist ideology, left-wing political activism under the guise of so-called anti-bias training or DEI programming. And we're going to say left-wing political ideologies are no longer going to be administrative best practices. And that's not to say that right-wing political ideologies are going to be. We want to have a balanced system. We want to have more voices, more freedom, more expression, more robust exchange of ideas.
NBC News reached out to Governor DeSantis' office for comment, but have not heard back. It's a lot of attention for a state school on Florida's coast.
They targeted us first because we're a small school with a predominantly LGBT body, and a lot of other marginalized peoples go here.
Some students and faculty believe it's the governor's latest attempt to stoke national political tensions.
We very much do feel like political pawns in the greater culture war and our governor's national political ambitions and Rufo's careerist ambitions.
Politics shouldn't really be playing a big role in our education. What happens here is going to have implications for public colleges and private colleges and universities across the country,
leaving many students anxious and threatened about what could come next. Maura is joining us now. And Maura, you heard some of those students describe themselves, they see as like sort of pawns in this whole thing. If that is a pervasive feeling, students could just choose to not attend, right? I mean, this is something that could affect enrollment. It could affect tuition for the school. It could affect the school's reputation, et cetera.
It could affect what the school looks like going forward in years to come, right, Hallie? And I think what's important to acknowledge is that both students and faculty did say to us, we understand that being part of a public education system means that state oversight comes with the territory. They get that. That's part of how it works. The bigger picture issue here for them is that it feels like the political additive into what they're seeing at school could influence the overall picture of public education in Florida. And then when you tie in the factor of the potential of Governor DeSantis running for president in 2024, that's why they feel this role of being a pawn. And when I asked Trustee Rufo, one of the new board members, about that concern, about these worries from students and faculty, he all but said, too bad. He pointed back to the fact that Florida citizens elected the governor, who then appoints the trustees, and they then get to make the decisions about the school. He said that he and his colleagues are agents of the democratic process, and he didn't acknowledge students' worries about their overall implications on their education or what this could indicate about national politics. Hallie?
Maura Barrett, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, Oregon police are looking for a torture suspect who they say could be using dating apps to find victims or people who can help them avoid police. We've got the latest on that investigation, plus a scary crash in Hawaii. Look at this. We'll tell you what rolled through this family's house later in the local. Deadline day is approaching for states bordering and on and in the Colorado River, which gives water to something like 40 million Americans. It's been dealing with drought for 2 decades, and now new emails obtained by the Associated Press show that states along that river are at a total impasse, basically, about how to share what water is left. Again, tomorrow is this deadline now to try to get to an agreement before the federal government steps in to do it for them. Bringing us to the breakdown where we lay out what this whole thing actually means. Stretching from the Rocky Mountains to the Gulf of California, the Colorado River gives fresh water to people across 7 states. But drought, climate change, and a growing population has shrunk the river's water flow to its lowest levels ever. Now, states that rely on the river have until Tuesday to figure out how to share the limited water supply. If they don't, the federal government will step in to do it for them. This all started back in 1922 when the Colorado River Compact was signed, dividing the river's water use by something called acre feet. What is that? It's how much water you need to cover an acre of land in a foot of water. The upper basin states, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, were supposed to share something like 7.5 million of those acre feet of water every year. And the lower basin states, California, Nevada, Arizona, allotted about 8.5 million per year. Mexico, where the river meets the sea, got 1.5 million. Okay, fine. So a lot of numbers, but here's what you need to know. The math worked as long as the river provided about 17 million acre feet a year. But that number has been going down, and fast. In the last 3 years, the river's water levels are so low that those original allocations are impossible. The states that are affected have been trying to figure out what the new math should be themselves, but so far, no luck. Everybody's got a reason, too. The upper basin states say, hey, they've already cut about half their allotment. Nevada says they've cut their usage by about a third. Arizona, which receives the least amount of water from the river, says more people and agreements with Native American tribes prevent them from making any cuts at all. And California, which gets the most amount of water from the river, points to its big agricultural industry as one reason why they can't cut back either. Without a simple solution and with a water crisis growing, the federal government now set to step in and force these states to cut back quite a bit. If the federal government does have to step in, they'll look to cut between 2 and 4 million of those acre feet of water in all, according to those emails obtained by the AP. It would be the first time ever that the government has had to do this kind of thing for the Colorado River. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Northeast Bureau, New Jersey police are offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of whoever threw a Molotov cocktail at a synagogue. You just saw some of that surveillance video. That's the suspect in a ski mask there. Nobody got hurt. No damage has been reported. From our Southern Bureau, a police chase in Atlanta ending in a very dramatic rescue this weekend. Look at this. Officers say this guy stole a cop car before it flipped onto some tracks. Body cam video shows officers smashing windows. Look at this. Pull the man out of the car right before a train came through. I mean, wow. The suspect is facing multiple charges, but of course is okay physically. From our West Coast Bureau, look at this. That is the boulder that barely missed a woman when it crashed through her home in Hawaii. Did you see that? I mean, that came within like inches. It went through a couple of walls. I mean, you see at least 2 walls there. No idea why it started rolling into her house in the first place, but luckily nobody was hurt. Now to what police call an all-hands-on-deck operation as they're looking for somebody suspected of brutally beating and kidnapping a woman in Oregon. 36-year-old Benjamin Foster has been on the run for nearly a week. Police say he's been active on dating apps, maybe targeting new victims or maybe looking for somebody to help him escape. The victim was found tied up and unconscious, near a town called Grants Pass Tuesday. She's currently hospitalized in critical condition. Officials warn that Foster is very dangerous and might be armed. Dana Griffin is joining us now. Dana, this is obviously an incredibly scary situation. What else do we know about this person and about this dating app usage thing?
Hallie, good evening. So Benjamin Foster is wanted for attempted murder, kidnapping, and assault. And here's why the search has become even more dire. So investigators say the suspect is still using dating apps to contact unsuspecting people who may be lured into helping him escape or could potentially become victims as well. Police have found the suspect's car and believe he still may be in Southern Oregon. Now, the police chief shared this message recently. Listen.
We will not rest until we capture this individual. I'm disgusted by what I know happened. This was an evil act. We are working hand in hand with our district attorney, and the most appropriate charges will be filed.
So on top of this case, Foster has a record of similar assaults, including a 2019 case in Nevada, where, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Foster was arrested for holding his then-girlfriend captive for 2 weeks and beating her. And Hallie, the details so gruesome, including breaking her ribs and burning her with lye.
It's horrific to even think about, Dana. Who is this person that police have arrested, a woman, for allegedly helping this guy?
Yeah, so they say the Foster likely received help fleeing the area from a 68-year-old woman. Her name is Tina Marie Jones. And at this time, it's unclear what their relationship is. She was arrested and booked for hindering prosecution. Now, Hallie, a $2,500 reward is being offered for information that leads to Foster.
Dana Griffin, thank you for being on top of this one for us. Please keep us updated. Appreciate it. When we come back, a frantic hunt in Australia for a very dangerous and tiny device. What officials are doing to help find a mini toxic capsule across an area that's hundreds of miles long. That's next. To a desperate scramble in Australia right now, where officials are basically looking for a radioactive needle in a haystack. They are hoping, beyond hope, to find a tiny radioactive pellet, a capsule that could be deadly, that they think fell off a truck from a mining company. This thing is tiny, like less than half an inch. That's what it looks like. That is very, very small. And you know what makes it even harder to find? They're looking for it over an 870-mile stretch of road. That is almost as long as the state of California. So you're looking for that half-inch thing, the size of your fingernail, in the state of California. It's dangerous, right? There's radioactive stuff in it that gives off potentially deadly amounts of radiation. It can burn your skin. If you're exposed to it for too long, it could even potentially cause cancer. It's so powerful that officials are telling people, if you can even see it, stay pretty far away from it, like 16 feet or back. Don't pick it up and put it in your pocket. Keir Simmons is joining us now. This is kind of a bananas story, Keir, right? Because this little thing dropped off the back of a mining truck. It's not great for humans, and it can be really scary if you're exposed to it for too long, if you even see it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be worrying, and you wouldn't necessarily know because, as you mentioned, it's so small. Now, okay, it's in a big area, but what happens if it gets picked up? They're worrying about this, gets picked up in a Tyre, ends up in a town, ends up, you know, in the hands of someone who doesn't realise, and they wouldn't necessarily know. I mean, listen, I found here in my house in the UK, Hallie, a dime. That's about how big it is. As you mentioned, it's almost 900 miles of road, so they're looking for that on that stretch of road in Western Australia, and I don't know how to say this without insulting anyone Australian watching, but there aren't that many people in Western Australia. It's not that well populated, let me put it that way. So it's a needle in a haystack, a radioactive needle in a haystack is a good description.
And to be clear, it's not like it's a radioactive bomb, right? Like it's not a nuclear, it's not going to blow up and like, but the bottom line is there's like an accountability factor here as well, right? This is not the first time that the mining company involved with this has had problems.
You're right. This company's called Rio Tinto, and it's already had controversy when it did enormous amounts of damage to a historic Aboriginal site that was many thousands of years old. So you're right. It's not. Anyone who has some not great feelings about mining companies, and there are going to be some watching, are just going to be nodding and saying, all right, yeah, I get it. It fell off the back of this truck. It's used in a device that measures depths from mining. How did it fall off? It's a question. I mean, I get that it's small, but you would want it to be more protected than that. The company, the contractor that was carrying it is properly qualified, apparently. But I mean, they're going to be questioning what really happened once they find it. I mean, that's going to be the first priority, just finding the thing.
And they're not using just like their eyeballs to look for it, right, Keir? I mean, there's actually like tools and things that are a part of this.
Yeah, which they're fitting to vehicles as they drive along this road. So, yeah, they are trying to work out. There are those saying they're going to find it. They do believe they're going to find it. But I don't know necessarily that you can be sure because, well, has it fallen off the road and bounced? I mean, you know, where is it is a question that we may never have an answer to. And in a way, Hallie, that would be a good thing because if we never hear about this thing again, then everyone will be breathing a sigh of relief. Problem is, you don't really know. Right? I mean, that's the issue. By the way, these dimes, which amazingly I managed to find, how do you, question for you, how are you supposed to know how much that's worth? Because it just says a dime on it. I was considering this before
like
I came on
is
air.
it it's like one of our dimes? Yeah, it's 10 because you just know. You just like learn it.
Yeah,
It's a God bless you. We're going to get you back here. We're going to do a little financial accounting lesson for you, okay? We're going to get back. We're going to pull out some pennies. Curious, it's such a wild story. Apparently this thing was in a box and it jiggled loose and this whole 9 yards. Keep us posted if they find this tiny pellet. Thank you, Kier. Appreciate you.
You bet.
That's it. That's it for Kier and his dime and his U.S. education on American money that's going to happen. And that's it for this hour. We've got a whole lot more coverage picking up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.